Our work looks at how industrial networks impact the way that shocks to the economy are felt. And what we're particularly focused on are networks about customers buying and selling from each other, so how industries exchange products. And what we've tried to do in this work is think about networks in two ways that help macroeconomists. One is that prior work in this literature has typically looked at things at long duration, so say a decade in length, whereas a lot of macroeconomics focuses on business cycle frequencies. And what we've been trying to do in this paper is push this down to think about things in 1 years, 3-year cycles, and provide some quantitative estimates or ideas of what this looks like at that short run level. The other thing, and I think more important thing that we're trying to do in this paper, is think about how we can group together shocks. What we really did not want this paper to be is a paper where we'd say, let's look at shock A, how it affects the economy, go to B, how it affects the economy, C, D, et cetera, and not try to provide some order to the problem. So from a conceptual lens, then followed by a theory model, and finally with the empirics, what we've sought to do is say, here are two ways that we can group shocks, and then let's try to understand how they will affect the economy differently, including the industries they're connected to. So one of the ways that we look at, one class of shocks that we look at are what we think of as demand side shocks. And they're kind of things that impact the overall size of an industry. So trade competition or changes in federal spending are examples of these types of shocks. And what our work pushes in this area is to understand that those types of shocks not only impact the industry that feels the shock, but also the upstream supplier industries to that industry. So if, for example, there's a loss of automobile sales in the United States due to foreign competition or similar, then we would expect that the tire manufacturers that are supplying into the automobile industry will also be affected by this. The second class of shocks that we look at are more shocks about how productive an industry is or what their technology level is. And here again, we're thinking that of course there'll be a shock to the industry directly, but the effects that will flow through the network will tend to flow in the opposite direction. So they're going to flow to the downstream customer industries of an industry. So to go back to our example, if you learn how to make a tire better, we're going to affect, of course, the tire industry, but we're also going to expect that there will be an impact for automobiles that are being customers of the tire industry. So overall, we're trying to provide this grouping, and then we look at two shocks of each variety. And our goal here is to both show the same patterns multiple times so that we get some confidence in them, and also provide a range of quantitative estimates that are of similar types of shocks. With the idea being here that some of the people that will find this research beneficial will be other academic researchers, and they may find our theory building blocks nice to work with, or the empirical side. But we also want to have an influence for policymakers and for business leaders that have to think about things in a more real-time basis. They can't wait for 6 years of data to develop. So to the extent that we can provide a structure and order to this problem and help people think about, here's a shock that's happening to the economy right now. How can I map that into this framework? Is it demand side? Is it a productivity shock? And then here are some estimates in the past for how typical shocks like this have impacted the economy.